saying, Matt, hold up, this isn't as easy as it looks. We've got a lot to take care of on the product side. And you have to understand that product grows as growth grows, but they're both really important, and you kind of have to, you forget what Facebook looked like when you first used Facebook. It doesn't look like Facebook now. It's a completely different product. Facebook used to crash all the time. It used to send messages. They never used to land. Now they have 1 million people working for them, and things work very well. But at first, it takes a lot of time to get your product up and running.
Do you want to share some of the feedback you get from a user and how you feel about it and how you do it?
Sure. So one thing I'll say is our biggest philosophy at Tilt is speed times accuracy equals execution. That's like our #1 thing. So if we send an email out and someone did something either poorly or not quick enough and we missed out on something, all you have to write in the email response to it is speed times accuracy equals execution. So there's the speed part, getting things done quickly. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it can't be slow. And then there's the accuracy, which is you got to spend time making sure that you're putting something out attached to the Tilt name, and it needs to be properly done. And that leads to execution. But where in there are you willing to drop off speed, and where in there are you willing to drop off execution or accuracy? Therein lies kind of the internal burning question that you always have to ask yourself. But speed times accuracy equals execution is our philosophy. An example of product. So just a quick example, I pitched Tilt to an MBA program. They're going to use us for their formal party. So people used to sit in the lunchroom and collect $60 cash for the formal, and then they'd write down your name and what meal type you want and all that kind of crap. And you're like, come on, we're still working in this kind of environment. So I go to the MBA Society and I say, use Tilt, and people just go online, they buy their ticket, they can select their meal choice, and boom, the list is downloadable at any time by the admin. Perfect, everything's great. Until someone goes to buy 2 tickets and it only offers 1 meal choice. So you want to buy a ticket for your date that night and she doesn't want the same meal as you. What do you do? So we get that email back from the user, and I go, I'm just livid. I run to our product team. How could you not think about this? You're now selling 2 tickets instead of 1 ticket. Obviously, they might have different meal choice preferences. And they're like, you're absolutely right, but this is going to take some time to build out. Well, I don't have time to build this out. I just, we're going to put $30,000 worth of tickets down. What do you do? So, you have to manage the expectations of the people using the platform. You have to approach your product team gently and say, hey, this is feedback that we received. We need to fix this. Take your time, but we need to get this done properly. And those things happen all the time because it's not possible to foresee every single use case of your product. So that's just one example of something kind of I ran into.
Customers forgiven? Are your user forgiven, or?
Customers forgive. It's actually amazing how much customers forgive. If your product is beneficial to them, collecting money is a pain. Keeping track of who paid you is a pain. If we solve those pain points, and whatever pain we cause on the other side isn't more overwhelming than those 2 things, then they keep coming back. And so far, we're solving those pain points so well that they're forgiving us on something as small as meal choice or something along those lines.
Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, we have the benefit. We have a great user engagement. Like we get calls and emails, and our clients, whether they be our direct clients or even a homeowner, a buyer, or a seller, they feel compelled to let us know what they think of it. And our stuff. Probably my favorite story is last summer, a friend of mine invited me out for a round of golf, and he said a friend of mine really wants to meet you, and he was one of the founders of Desire to Learn, and I don't know if you're familiar with Desire to Learn, but they're a very successful startup that's grown out of the Kitchener environment, fastest growing company in Canada right now, I think, and he knew me as the iGuide guy. So I show up for golf, and we're talking, and he kept calling me iGuide guy. And he said, my wife and I, we really enjoy going through all your iGuide properties, and we just sit on the couch. He said, dude, you're house porn. We just sit there, and every night we're just going through checking out new houses. He said, but you really could make it a lot easier for us to find them. And I said, well, how are you finding the houses that you're going through? And he said, well, I'm hacking into your servers, and I'm finding neighborhoods. I'm just grabbing a pocket at a time. And he said, it would be great if you made it easier. So we went back and said, so what do we do? So we created a map functionality. So users, and he wasn't the only one telling us that buyers were really, like people shopping for houses, were spending a ton of time. Our site visit traffic was through the roof, so we decided that we were going to get our design team to build a map. So if you went to our website, walk inside, you could isolate yourself on a particular neighborhood, and you could just spend the evening going through properties in that neighborhood, or go through properties in that neighborhood, or look around. And that had some significant impacts in our business and our user base, and just propelled us forward. And that's one of the many cases where our users, whether it be our direct paying clients or their clients, our users, are really giving us feedback that are helping us improve our service and our product.
Actually, that's two questions. First one is, do you raise funds before your product's out, or what, or do you just bootstrap, do your sweat equity, and then you look for funds? And when you look for funds, about how advanced you have to start looking into the investment community?
We were concerned. We wanted to maintain an equity position, and yeah, you can go out and raise money. You can raise any amount of money. I was at a convention down in New York City where there are startups raising $7 million on an idea, but they're giving 90% of their company up in order to do that. There are guys out there that will make those kind of bets on a product, and if it fails, they walk away. But if you're legitimately interested in building a company and having ownership and having a say in it, then the answer is you're going to want to bootstrap it as long as you can. Your investors will certainly appreciate a lot of blood and sweat in the investment. They want to see that you hurt too, and that'll go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a company bootstrap for as long as possible before they're typically going to raise money to then acquire users. So that's generally what ends up happening.
And I typically hear, if you know you need money at this time, you have to start talking to investors about 10 or 12 months beforehand. Is that your experience, or?
I think you might have a different experience every year, but it just in general, I mean, on average, it probably takes a long time to raise money from people, unless you have, you know, unless you're lucky enough to have someone who comes on board right away.
Okay, last question before we open up for Q&A. What's the next step for both companies and hiring situation?
Next step for Tilt is we're operating internationally, so we're opening the UK office, and then into Netherlands, into all the Nordic countries, into Australia, and then Australia will be kind of the gateway to Asia, probably India and China. Again, I said before that you need a Facebook profile to start a Tilt, and you need a credit card in order to kind of interact on Tilt. And so those are the kind of the markets that we'll be focusing on, large populations that have both of those. I think you asked if we were hiring. We're not hiring in Toronto, though we love to meet smart people in case we decide to, and we often decide to on kind of a flip of a coin.
And do you give equity?
We do give equity as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. We had a discussion about equity the other day in the office, and then it turns out not everyone gets equity, so we do give equity, but obviously we're well funded and we're now at 70 plus people, so the equity is to make sure that you're committed long term to the company, but it's not gonna make you into a millionaire the day you sign your contract. So,
like 2 weeks I saw you, you're only what, 20 people? 70? Growing really growth. That's growth.
We're growing quickly, which is exciting. Yes.
So, as for our business, we're now moving into our scale strategy. So, up until this point, we've been piloting our systems and running a full service operation, meaning we own our own cameras, we hire our own photographers, and we deliver an end-to-end solution. We're pulling away from that, where we're now licensing our cameras out to service providers in the industry who will take our technology and then go into their local markets and start to offer it, make money on it, and then send us to do all of their data processing and hosting. So our business model is very much like Kodak for the first 60 years it was successful, where they sold cameras and they monetized really on the photo processing. Their money was in chemicals and paper. Ours is in data processing and hosting. So we just started that expansion. We put our first 2 cameras in the US. We've put our first 10 cameras in Canada, and hopefully over the next 4 months, the big debate right now is how many cameras we're going to be rolling out every month going forward.
And hiring situation?
We're certainly looking to hire on the next round. Right now, no, we've got we got a great team. It's not a huge team, but we're bringing some of the people from the field in, and then bringing a few more people on. But yeah, it's definitely a business that we're going to be hiring quite a bit. We've got a fair bit of labor intensive, so as we ramp up, we're going to be hiring.
Are you still hiring the US CEO, or?
No, we certainly we're debating on that whole U.S. subsidiary versus continuing to run everything in Canada. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. We've got people interested in running our U.S. operations, but we haven't determined that yet.
Great. That's all the questions. And okay, Q&A.
Okay, so Matt and Kevin, thank you very much for this dialogue. It's been very informative. Some of the terminology used is a little bit less more desired for, but from an entrepreneurial point of view, and someone from the outside looking in, more so directly towards you, Kevin, you started with an idea, and you talked about you were a teacher at one point. Before this idea, what inspired you to, take this idea, and what were the steps or the processes you took from leaving something like a teacher job to, running with this entrepreneurial idea? Just talk about it.
Well, I met my inspiration for the idea really came from 12 years in the industry, recognizing or not even being aware that there was something missing. So the technology that Alex was working on, as soon as I saw it, I went to school to teach, but I was really in design and construction for 12 years, and it wasn't until I saw what was the beginning of our technology at its early stages did I realize that that's been missing my whole life. This is something that I absolutely could have used, and you get this swell of all these times that would have made you more money, saved you time, and knew that I really wanted to exploit it and develop it and form it. So that was what it was for me.
I'll just say that I used to work in a reactive business, so when I'm in co-op, people are making cool decisions, buying companies, selling companies, all these different things, and then I have to react to those decisions. So I was looking to get into an industry where I get to be proactive, so I can wake up in the morning, make decisions, and by 5 o'clock that day, kind of see how those decisions led to more users or impacted my teammates or any kind of thing like that. So I was getting bored of letting somebody else make the decision and put it into action, and I just wanted to make the decision in the morning.
Yep.
Can you guys talk a little bit about the competition? Let's say if you're working on a product or a service that in the area of blue ocean, potential huge market, nobody has been working on that, and you've been working on that for 4 months or so, and all of a sudden you realize that, oh, there is another company coming up the product or services that's exactly the same with what you originally thought, and especially that company was backed up by a huge investment. So in that kind of situation, how would you react, and how would you outgrow your competition?
that is our situation, and that's what's expedited our entrance into the U.S. market. So no matter how great an idea is, you think you're the only one that can't come up with it, yet you discover in isolated pockets everywhere else in the world, people came to the same realization at the same time. So nothing is absolutely truly unique, and then it becomes a foot race. We talked about PayPal Mafia down in the U.S. and some of these startups that have access to incredible amounts of money. And we started at the same time as another company down in 2011, 2012 down in the U.S. And we check out their site and they check out ours, and theirs was worse than ours, and then ours got better, and then vice versa. And then they raised $30 million. And theirs got a lot better, a lot faster. So it becomes a race at that point, and you have to be aware of dollars sometimes will win, but dollars won't always win. And this competitor that we've got down in the U.S., and I use this as a rallying cry for our team, they've sold 400 cameras, and they've got 3,000 homes in their accrued database. Well, up until this point, we had 5 cameras with 2,500 homes in our database. So it's not always the most dollars that'll win, but that won't last forever. You gotta hustle up a bit too.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it's flattering when we hear of, we're the dominant player kind of in this, but in the US there's Venmo, in Canada we have e-transfers, whatever it might be. But normally when we hear of someone like Facebook or Snapchat wanting to send money over Facebook Messenger or Snapcash where you can send people money over there, we're flattered in the sense that they understand that there's a market for what we're trying to do. We just put our heads down and continue to grow as much as possible with the value prop that we've built, and hope that our customers continue to use us as much as possible. But it's flattering, but it's also keeps you up at night and keeps you worrying about making sure that your product's the best it can possibly be.
Alright, my question is kind of like the opposite of the previous one. So if like you see a blue ocean, like an open space somewhere, like you figure there's gotta be a company in there, but there isn't. I've met people who told me that there's probably a good reason why that space is open.
Then they started the company while then they started the company in that blue ocean while you thought about their company. No, I'm just kidding.
So I was asking do you think if the blue ocean means there's a good reason for it to be there, or it's just an unexplored area?
It's a funny thing. Most of the time, I finished reading Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. I highly recommend it. There's very few ideas that someone hasn't thought of and run by their friends and discuss with people. And it used to be, I've come up with this great idea, don't tell anyone, I'm going to launch it, everyone's going to be using it, and that just doesn't exist anymore. It's about refining it, launching it to your friends, talking with people. So if you have this brilliant idea, you got to trust that other people aren't going to go forward with it when you tell it to them, and refine it and refine the idea. And if everyone you talk to is saying, yes, 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 this would make my life a lot easier, then I think you have an idea. And if everyone's like, I don't know, if I would ever use that, or you'll never come up with an idea that nobody's ever thought of, launch it tomorrow to like the most fanfare, and thank God, you thought of it before someone else. Most of the time, anything you've thought of, somebody else has thought of to a certain extent and tried it or not tried it. I don't mean to sound negative, but that's generally the idea, is to test it amongst your friends, make sure that people you think are going to use it find it interesting, and then go from there.
Yeah, and for us, it really was a lot of research. So you research the space, you research the market, you research the possibility that's there, and then you start running some plans and things against that. You come up with some assumptions and some guesses, and then you go and you test it. So, and that's really what beta is you go and see if it's viable. I've been told if one person will buy it, then there's a market for it. So you found one. Now, how far apart are they, and how frequently will they buy it? But if you can find one client, one person willing to part with their dollars for something, there's a market. How big it is up to you, but that's how you know if that blue ocean's got money in it.
Just
So I got a question about actually venture capitalists. So you both have worked with, I guess, a few firms, and I noticed on Tilt's kind of investor roster just some like top names like SB Angel and Richard Horowitz. So what's your experience been like working with them? Because a lot of VCs say, we don't just give you money, like we give you so much more value. Has that been true, like based on your experience, like?
It's tough because I'm in Toronto and most of those investors are in San Fran, and typically, we have a CEO in San Fran, and his boss is the Andreessen Horowitzes and SB Angels and Sean Parkers of the world, and he's my boss, and I worry about how he sees me, and he worries about how they deal with him, and I don't get that much interaction with them, but they have investments everywhere, and that's part of dealing with, it's less of a partnership, because if you get one person who's put a large stake in your company, and that's a large percentage of what they've invested outside of their own endeavors, then you get a real partner. But when you've got, an Andreessen Horowitz and those kinds of, they're putting money everywhere, and they care to help you, and they'll send board members to your lunches, and they'll chat with you, and they'll help you with new fundraisings, and they'll help you along the way. But that's more for a CEO to worry about on a day-to-day basis, and he worries quite a lot because he's borrowed quite a lot of money from people that are looking for quite a large return, and I just worry about working for him, and he worries about working for the VCs.
If you want a VC to be engaged and interested, don't go for the celebrities, don't go for the stars. You'll be amazed by them, you'll be flattered by the opportunity to meet with them, and when the rubber hits the road, here's my neighbor's son-in-law's friend who's going to be running this investment on my behalf. So you want to be cautious of that. You want people that legitimately will get involved, and if they want to engage, that's great, but make sure it's them. And they're the ones that were successful, not their neighbor's friend, not any of this other stuff. So look at everything on face value.
The only thing I'll say to that is that there's guys in Toronto that are become like, the angels of the angels, like Dave DeBow. It's like Dave DeBow invested in my company. Everyone wants to give you $15,000 in your company. So sometimes it's worth getting someone like that to give you some money. And even though they're not going to play a role in your company, at least it gives you credibility with other people, and hopefully that helps you raise some money. But generally I agree, it's just that we were lucky to be funded in San Fran, and I'm just worried about growing in Canada. Yep.
I have a question about finding talents for your, when you get bigger. So whether or not you're growing from like 2 people to 5 people to 10 or 20 to 70 people, I imagine for a startup there's certain types of qualities you're looking for in the staff you hire, and where do you go and find that kind of people?
It's an amazing question. It's probably my favorite thing to talk about. It's where do you find the best talent possible? Would that be a good summation of the question? I interviewed 14 times with Tilt before they offered me a job. 14. And we just passed on someone who interviewed 15 times with Tilt until they got to our CEO, and he said, we're not interested. So we are extremely, extremely concerned about hiring. It's probably our #1 focus. It matters because I work in an office with 8 people in Toronto, but at one point we were 3 and 4 and 5, and we really interact with each other all day long. And when you put one more person into the mix, it's not like it's Bob down the hall and I don't have to talk to Bob all day. It's Matt or Cindy who's sitting with their back to me, and we discuss every living and breathing issue with the company. So we have to get along personally, we have to get along professionally, and I have to make sure that they're committed to the Tilt cause. And all those things are very difficult to find, but they're the most important thing we search for.
Well, I don't hire the technology team. That's my partner. I don't speak Star Wars. But the rest of our team, for us, it's all about personality and culture. Provided you've got some sort of background and you've got an education of some kind, a lot of skills can be taught. It's about your fit in the organization. And a lot of it too is about timing. You know, how are you available? A lot of times in the startup space, if you went from 20 to 70, it's not necessarily about right, but are you ready right now? And that's what a lot of the employment things come down to. And getting in the ecosystem. I know in Kishore Lu, in Communitech, and in that whole environment, there's a lot of people that will volunteer and hang around, and you just get names of people that are waiting for that opportunity to join a startup. And provided that culturally they mesh, you take them.
Two more questions, and then we're good.
Thank you again for your comments. Coming to where you are now, looking back, the standing point where you say Royal Boy, there could have been a fatal flaw in the ship right off the bat. What would be the one thing that would actually stop you, derail you right off the bat?
American VCs. That was certainly one. I don't know. I don't think. Fortunately, we bypassed them. So there's been some close calls where you can look back and say that could have been a bad decision, knowing what we know now. The scary part is, in this startup world, everything's kind of a guess. It's as educated a guess as you can get, but you've got as good a chance of being wrong as you were right.
If we tried to grow in Canada the way we focused on growth in the US, we would have fallen on our face. It wouldn't have worked out. You need to approach each country in a different form. And so we would have spent a ton of money and it wouldn't have gone nearly as well as sorry? Like Target is a perfect example. Halo Cabs. I just saw Homejoy, I think, is pulling out of Canada. So all these companies with tons of money coming to a market where you think they're just the same as, just like Target, same with Halo, just got obliterated by either the competition here or just not understanding the difference in marketplaces. So it's something we talk about often.
Last question.
So I have two questions. Since I'm the last
One. You can leave the other one afterwards.
It's actually, the first one is quite simple. So which round of fundraising are two companies are, is the first one. And second one is for Matt. Because you said you were a lawyer before, right? You were a lawyer before, but I'm still a lawyer.
I stopped paying my dues, so yes, I was a lawyer.
I'm currently a lawyer, but working in startups ecosystem too. So what was the decision you made at that time to quit law to join startups? And what's your pitch to your company? And what's the decision they made to hire you?
We just completed, so we did a Series B, that was our $37 million, and now we're moving on. Maybe we should just chat after this about all that lawyer stuff, because I can't imagine it's that interesting to the whole crowd.
Yeah, we're looking for probably our second round sometime in Q3 for Series A.
So thanks everyone for coming. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. So everybody, really approachable. So afterwards, feel free to start poking your brains. We got some announcement from NAP, so Amelia or whoever just come up and do the. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And on behalf of Matt, thank you, Matt, to Evan for sharing with us your stories and experiences. We do have a book to give away. It's called Startup Opportunities, Know When to Quit Your Day Job. Just because you don't like your job, that's not the reason to become an entrepreneur. So we did do a raffle tickets when you came in, but hoping everyone paid attention, because when Matt was speaking up here, he talked about a fundamental equation that they use to operate at Tilt. So who can tell me what that is? Okay.
If I'm Alex Trebek, I'd say eh.
Okay, Matt?
There you go. Sorry.
Good try. Before you get Amelia, as a quick announcement, so just 30 more seconds of your time, please.
Yeah, since I like to ask two questions, so the same 30 seconds could be 60 seconds. So thank you, Kevin and Matt, for night. And we are talking about ideas, innovations, and leadership tonight. So I actually have a question for everyone. Now, just be quiet and close your eyes. Thinking about the 3 extremely successful business person you ever know, who are they? Okay, so open your eyes. I'm not gonna ask you who are they. Yeah, I'm not asking. Are there any women? Or any of them are women? One, thank you. In United States, women accounts only 10% of seats on corporate boards, while in Asia, this number is only 6%. According to McKinsey's Women Matters report, women today still face limitations in winning competitions, and there is a significant gap in women at senior levels. So, in order to change that, there are 3 ways to build up this gender diversity ecosystem. Management commitment from CEOs, women's development program, and a set of enablers like us today to help women progress. And today we are here as we build a leader NAP Toronto, and we are launching NAP Mastermind program for women in NAP. So you're gonna ask me, what is Mastermind program? It is a peer-to-peer women development program. It's engaged to women who have at least 3 years working experience and who want to support and empower each other and get our voice heard. We will meet once per month for 8 months, and we will together build up a strong community and learn and grow. So why would you join? You will have a chance to lead, and you will no longer be alone at the workplace. So now, what is call to actions for everyone here tonight? If you are an Asian working professional woman, or you know a strong Asian woman professionals, submit your application. Pre-registration is tonight. You can talk to me, talk to Melanie, who is giving away the book for free, and you can talk to Ben, our president, to Jeremy, and all the other NAP board members. And the pre-registration is today. So like the sign-up sheet is there. Sign up your name, your contact information, and we will follow up with program newsletters as well as online application form. If you know anyone who could benefit from this program, because, sorry, I'm a man, so what can you do? You can spread the news and check our NAP Toronto's website for more details. Last but not least, come back on April 16th. It's NAP Toronto's Audi night, and it's also our Mastermind program's official launch party, and I will see you all there. Anyone has questions? Yes?
Although I'm obviously not Asian, I just want to thank you for giving women everywhere the opportunity to empower themselves and be part of that corporate ladder living through their own entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, just reach to me and I will be happy to answer all the questions. And thank you, Kevin and Matt, for listening to my